Hello, welcome to R&B Reviews. I'm Rob.
I'm Brendan.
And for this video, since summer has just ended, we're going to go ahead and do our list of the top. Each of us are going to do a list of the top, what we think are the top 5 best films of the summer, and we're also going to pick a worst movie and a most disappointing movie. So, Brendan, what would you say about the summer blockbuster season? What was your impression of it?
Well, we didn't have any dark nights this summer, but we definitely saw a lot of good movies. You know, particularly with The Hangover, I didn't think it was going to be as good as it was, or Star Trek, but then you had movies like Wolverine that were just not interesting, and Halloween 2 that was just crap. But there were some really good movies in there, District 9 and 500 Days of Summer. In my opinion, there was a variety of movies. Like, we did have some big blockbusters, some really good, some that were there just to get money, and then there were the smaller independent films that didn't always come to every single movie theater. Like, it might be at a movie theater for a week or two, or and those movies, a lot of them were fresh, some of them were very different, and it felt like, to me, there was a big variety of movies this summer. I agree. You pretty much had everything, every genre sort of represented, and we did get some good independent movies that came out this summer. I mean, you had your loud summer blockbusters like Transformers and Terminator, and then you had smaller ones like The Hurt Locker that go under the radar. But it seems like we got all our quality movies right at the end of the summer. At least in my opinion, like Inglourious Basterds and District 9. So and Extract came at the end there. So. I think it was a good summer towards the end, but rough getting started. Okay,
so Brennan, go ahead and give us start the video off with what your top 5 pick.
All right, for my number 5 pick, I picked The Hurt Locker, the Kathryn Bigelow directed Iraq war movie. This movie really surprised me. I'd heard a lot of good things about it. And war films generally aren't that interesting, and particularly Iraq war films. They put in a lot of political commentary, and sometimes people would rather not be reminded of that when it's on the news constantly. But The Hurt Locker instead told a straightforward, suspenseful action story that had realistic, humanistic characters. It was a very easy movie to get into, and the action pieces in the film are great and all perfectly directed, and it's one of the best movies Kathryn Bigelow has made. And if this movie didn't come out to theaters near you, wait until it comes out in DVD and check it out. It's really worth watching. It's one of the better, if not the best film made on the Iraq War that doesn't give a commentary on the war either. Alright,
well, my number 5 pick is Star Trek. It's the prequel to the original TV series and the later feature film series about the Enterprise's crew first mission while they were still at Starfleet Academy. Now, what I really enjoyed about the movie, and even Star Trek in general, are the characters. Kirk is the cynical, rebellious young man. Spock takes things a little bit too seriously, and Dr. McCoy as well. Old, cynical, cranky Dr. McCoy. Now, of all the blockbusters, this movie really had me involved the most. The special effects were not distracting. As a matter of fact, they helped tell the story, and I was really involved with the action scenes, and I could really feel the adrenaline that the characters would have probably felt. Now, the cast did a fine job taking on the roles which must be very difficult to take over a role previously done by someone else, and the humor was consistent throughout the film. Well, what I really missed with Star Trek was, a lot of the Star Trek show and movies, they have a metaphoric message, like Star Trek 2 The Wrath of Khan was about, change, youth, and old, and even Star Trek 5, which I thought was the worst movie in that series, had a message about faith and God, and I felt like the metaphorical message was missing in this film. But looking back on it, there was a lot of story to tell, and I don't know if they would have had time to put something like that in there. But I felt that was something that I really wanted to see with Star Trek. But overall, it was interesting. I thought Star Trek was fun, and it was definitely great to sit through.
For our number 4 pick, I pick Drag Me to Hell, the Sam Raimi directed return to horror. This movie really surprised me. I got to see this in advanced screening in a big theater full of Sam Raimi fans. And I took one of my best friends with it who doesn't even like horror movies, and he absolutely loved it. When we walked out of the theater, he said that was one of the best horror films I've seen, and he doesn't even watch that stuff, so it tells you how good the film can be. And Sam Raimi completely, people think he ditched out on his old Evil Dead style. I would much rather see him doing horror films like Drag Me to Hell than Spider-Man movies. and it shows PG-13 can have horror films if they're done like this. I mean, lots of comedy, lots of horror. If you didn't get a chance to see it in theaters like a lot of people did, catch it when it comes out on DVD. You really owe yourself to watch this movie. It was the best horror film I've seen this year, and it completely earned my money, although I got to see it for free.
My number 4 pick is Extract. It stars Jason Bateman as the manager and founder of the company that makes extract for baking goods. Now, as for someone who works for a business myself, I found the movie to be very relatable. The employees remind me of the people that I work with at my job, and the annoying neighbor that Bateman has kind of reminds me of some of the neighbors that I had in my neighborhood. And like Star Trek, the movie was very well cast. The actors delivered, especially Ben Affleck in his semi-cameo role. I always found Affleck to be hit and miss in movies, but here he definitely hits very well. And the humor is very subtle. It's not over the top. And of course, I got to...
My number 3 pick is 500 Days of Summer. This movie surprised me in that it was fresh, original, and I didn't think I was going to really like it for being pretty much a love story from a guy's point of view. The movie was very shot well. It was acted perfect by Joseph Gordon-Levitt. He's a great leading man, and I'm sure he'll be doing more movies after this, because this film we were lucky enough to get out here at our theater, just much like The Hurt Locker. But it's one of those movies that didn't get to go everywhere. It made it into the top 10 at the box office. You really owe it to yourself to check out this movie. Don't think it's like some romantic comedy. It actually is really funny, and I'm glad I was able to catch it in theaters.
Now, my number 3 pick is The Hurt Locker. It's about a group of bomb technicians in Iraq whose job is to stop bombs from going off. Now, the film shows that it's not very easy to dismantle a bomb, because there's always a chance that while it's being worked on, it could still go off. And as a result, a lot of the scenes had some suspense in there. I was always hoping that they would be able to get away from that situation very safely, and it had my involvement. And I also enjoyed the characters. Each character was very different. Like Sergeant Sanborn is very serious, and he takes these missions very seriously. And Bomb Specialist James is arrogant, he's reckless, he doesn't always take these missions very seriously. And I like that we got to know the characters outside of the war rather than just watching them dismantling bombs, because I felt that would get very old after a while if it was done. But and there's also a battle out in the desert that also had a lot of great tension and great energy. The movie was in limited release, but I hope people check this film out on DVD, because this was definitely a great movie to sit through. Okay, well now we're going to take a break from our list of the best movies of the summer. We're going to now, each of us is now going to pick a disappointing movie and a worst summer pick of the season. So, Brennan, what's your
Worst pick?
Yeah.
Halloween 2. It was the cinematic turd of the year. I hope I'll never see a film that bad again, and that's all I'm going to say. People can check out our review on it. It's gotten lots of hits and comments. It's very popular. We both snuffed it, and hopefully we'll see a better Michael Myers movie in the future, or no Michael Myers movies in the future.
Okay, well, when I was putting this list together, a few weeks ago, with ideas for what to put in my top 5 and all that, originally for my worst pick, I was going to pick Labor Pains with Lindsay Lohan, but I saw another movie that made Labor Pains entertaining, and that is also Halloween 2. I did like a little bit of Rob Zombie's remake of the first film, like the first hour with the backstory. I really liked that. But this second film, I don't know, I was very disappointed. Like with the first 20 minutes, even though it was kind of like a stereotypical slasher movie, the conclusion of the first 20 minutes I felt ripped off. I mean, the people who saw this movie know what I'm talking about. Like the first 20 minutes, it's all right, and then the conclusion, I felt like I was a little bit tricked there. I also couldn't feel sorry for Laurie like I did with Jamie Lee Curtis in the older films. But what I did like about Halloween 2 is that Zombie does have a good ear for picking good music for his soundtrack, and I like that Michael Myers keeps hallucinating and seeing his mom, even though a lot of posters on our original review kind of disagree with me with that. And I also like the scene where it's like that Laurie and Michael have a psychic bond, because, you know, they're brother and sister. Michael Myers is out in the field, he's eating a dog, and Laurie, who is a vegetarian, feels sick all of a sudden and goes and throw up. It's like there's a nice psychic bond, and I wanted that to be explored a little more, But that nothing like that happened again with the rest of the movie, and I was disappointed with that. But
Yeah, just small little kernels of ideas that could have made a better film, but overall, just too many hillbilly characters. You didn't really give a shit about anybody in the film at all. And,
yeah, I didn't feel involved, and I just didn't care after a while.
We're never gonna get that hour and a half of our lives back. And if you haven't seen Halloween 2, do yourself a service and just avoid it.